What is up, you heathens and demons? And let's roll that intro just a little bit longer so I can turn off my air conditioner. How about that? I'll be right back. All right, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Raging Atheist. Can't run the AC while I am live because you will not hear me. So, it has been an interesting evening and a fun morning on Twitter, as always. But before we get into today's video, I do have some announcements. I will be on the GDC, the Great Debate Community, tonight at 5 Eastern. And then I'm going to try around 10 o'clock. I'm going to have an open room, and we can start with a talk on incels or whatever anybody wants to talk about. Anybody's welcome. Can come and have that conversation. Thanks to Dr. Josh. Well, first, thanks to Megan of Digital Hammurabi for designing my first merch design. And if you would like to purchase a Raging Atheist t-shirt, 100% reprobate, link is in the description below. Thank you, Dr. Josh, for setting this up. And good little start. And Dr. Josh did that completely 100% himself. And I am just so grateful to Dr. Josh and Megan and Digital Hammurabi. They have been great, great friends and just beautiful, beautiful people. So yeah, you can now buy Raging Atheist merchandise. You can join my Patreon, direct donations on PayPal, all of those descriptions and the link below. Right now, you guys have been getting me through a really tough period. It's been like 2 months now that I haven't had a job. I ran out of money a few weeks ago. Because of you guys, I'm paying my bills still. It's been really miraculous. I'm just really grateful, and thank you guys so much. But for today's show, so as I said, and John Peterson is in the chat now, so he's been more involved with this argument than I have. But pretty much how it started, from what I saw, was John promoted today's show on the GDC on Twitter, and somebody came on insulting Dr. Misha Griffith. And that has pretty much started a Twitter dumpster fire that has went through the night. And I woke up this morning and it's still going on. And it's pretty much gotten to a discussion about Jordan Peterson. And I do what I do. I like to troll people. I'm not even really there to argue and add any arguments to the argument that's going on. I'm just there to talk shit. Sometimes I will actually argue on Twitter, but I do that live here on YouTube. So I'm really there just trolling and having a good time at it. And I'm putting forth some assertions that I want to talk about today. I've been meaning to start talking about Jordan Peterson and going in depth on Jordan Peterson for quite a while. I have watched a lot of his debates in full. I've watched every single debate he's ever had with Sam Harris, because I used to be a really big Sam Harris fan. So I've also watched a few of his other debates. I've studied him extensively. I would respond to him, and I'm going to be responding to him, and this is going to kind of really start that. But I wouldn't put myself like in an intellectual battle with Jordan Peterson. I'm definitely not that. I don't know him well enough, and I don't have the intelligence to try to do so. I'm not rationality rules. But I despise the guy, and I've been meaning about talking about him more in depth here on the channel. And I do think that there is somewhat of a link to him and some incel shit. But I'm going to admit that I'm really a beginner when it comes to incels. And John, I would, but I don't really have it set up to have somebody on. So I can't really do that in this format right now. I'm hopefully will be changing that very soon. to where when I'm doing it like this, then I can actually have as many people on as I want. But tonight, John, if you're not doing anything around 10 o'clock, you can come on the open room and we can start out the discussion with this conversation. So, it's pretty much devolved into a couple people going at a lot of people. Jim Majors is involved now. John is involved. Dr. Misha Griffin. So I mean, a lot of people are arguing. It's a great argument. Go check it out on Twitter. But I want to talk about really like Jordan Peterson and his fans. People that defend Jordan Peterson. Like in this argument, people are defending Jordan Peterson. And to me, that tells me a lot about your character. And maybe I'm just a biased asshole when it comes to anything right wing, and I clearly admit that. I'm a far leftist. I try to leave that off of my channel as much as I can, and that's why I have a political channel now, so it doesn't spill over here. A lot of people that watch me are right wing leaning, and it is not my intention to alienate them at all. So I try not to talk too much politics here. It does happen, but if somebody's defending Jordan Peterson, my initial assumption about that person, especially if they're male, which they usually tend to be male, is that they're a fucking incel. And maybe that's a wrong assumption to have, because I don't think that Jordan Peterson promotes that, so to speak. But I think he promotes, especially when he talks about masculinity, that is for the beginner incel, if you will. That is going to lead you down into that road of that line of thinking. And we're going to really only look at a small bit of Jordan Peterson, because I really want to talk about incels. I want to start talking about incels. I want to find out more about incels. I don't know them. I find them to be like an alien fucking race. They seem very, very strange to me. So I want to learn with you guys about incels. So we're going to mainly be looking at incels today, but we're going to start with Peterson and his masculinity, and this is going to be Fox News. It's one of the reasons why I don't like him. He weaponizes his intelligence, he weaponizes his PhD, and reaches an audience that are just fucking dumb. This alpha male, right-leaning young male audience who feel displaced in a secular world that has taken away their power and spreading it around more evenly. They can't stand it. So let's check out a little bit of what JBP has to say.
Jordan Peterson is a professor at the University of Toronto. He's written a lot about the decline of modern men. We spoke to him recently. Jordan Peterson, thanks for joining us. We've got a long list of statistics that paint a pretty clear picture that boys seem to be falling behind relative to girls in the United States. Why do you think that is?
I think that that's partly a consequence of directed policy. So it's linked to the idea that there's something wrong with masculinity. And so that...
And there is something wrong with masculinity. There's something wrong with masculinity when it comes to dominating women, when it comes to being this dominant species. You can change that. You don't have to be that primitive male archetype. You can be woke, if you will. You don't have to fall into those baser instincts. And it's pretty much what Jordan Peterson promotes is we are male, we should be male, and we shouldn't be afraid to act male. And he really perpetuates, in my opinion, this rape culture. And then as soon as you point that out, his defenders they'll start calling you snowflakes, liberals, this and that. You guys know the arguments. You're just an SJW. No, like seriously, you don't have to be a male and a douche at the same time. Masculinity doesn't mean you have to be a prick.
The expression of masculinity should be limited in all sorts of arbitrary ways. The fact that kids can't really play at schools anymore is a manifestation of that. The fact that male behavior is often diagnosed as...
I really don't get this bullshit about how the liberal teachers aren't letting children play anymore. Like that, it's not true. at all. Like, I go to my child's school, and guess what? They're out on the playground playing just like we always did before. They're on the monkey bars, they're on the playgrounds, they're throwing footballs, they're playing basketball. They're playing like we always did before. There's just more rules and structure. You can't act like little fucking beasts. And it's not like we're going to beat your ass anymore if you do that, but there's going to be structure and there's going to be punishment. And, if you're a little male child acting like a fucking bully, well, you should be called out. And I don't think schools call out bullies enough. I think they turn blind eyes to bullies. So we need to actually expand on that.
Attention deficit disorder, for example, is a manifestation of that. The elimination of competition as a valid form of human interaction, and the failure to recognize that competitive sports, for example, are deeply cooperative in their fundamental nature, as long as everyone is playing by the rules, obviously. So there's that's a large part of it.
So you're saying that there is,
and just, JBP's voice really just grates at my skin, and what really irritates the fuck out of me about him is he promotes this masculinity, right? Like, he promotes this, we are men, we should be men, ape mentality. But look at Jordan Peterson. He is not a man's man. He's a pencil pusher, an intellectual. And I'm not talking shit about intellectuals. To me, everybody should aspire to be an intellectual. But when it comes to this masculinity, Jordan Peterson, I can pretty much ascertain, has probably never been on a construction site in his life. He's never had to lug up stacks of shingles on his shoulder, walking up a ladder 2, 3, 4 stories onto a 12-pitch roof. He's never done those manly man things. He looks like a dude that I would have probably beat his ass in high school, because I was that alpha male in high school. And I don't even believe in this alpha beta bullshit, but I was that alpha male in high school. And I would have picked on a little dork like Jordan Peterson.
Is an organized, not always explicit, but still organized attempt to de-emphasize masculinity.
And thank you so much, Jeremy Pace, $2 super chat. Merle and Earl show. I do need to talk to Jim about doing that. I just totally keep forgetting about it. I need to reach out to Jim Majors, and maybe I think it's about time for Earl.
Or to punish masculinity. Why?
Because it's easy to mistake masculine competence for the tyranny that hypothetically drives the patriarchy. It's part of a ideological worldview that sees the entire history of mankind as the oppression of women by men, which is a dreadful way of looking at the world.
It's not a dreadful way of looking at the world. It's a realistic way of looking at our history. To look at it any other way would be to completely deny the course of history. Men have dominated women throughout the course of human history. That is not, if you see that is not a wrong view to hold. That is looking at history and saying, we had a barbaric past, and we did a lot of shitty things to not just women, but all others. We've always put people in other groups, and women have always been one of that. And women are generally softer, smaller, not as physically strong. So we as males have taken advantage of that since the beginning. To see that truth is not an atrocious worldview. It's seeing the fucking truth.
A very pathological way of looking at the world. It's not like men and women always get along any more than men and men get along, or women and women for that matter. But fundamentally, human history is a cooperative enterprise, and men and women have lifted themselves out of the mire over millennia in their cooperative endeavor. And to describe that as centuries of the oppression of women by men is an absolutely reprehensible ideological rewrite of history.
He says, as he goes on Fox News, catering to the religious right that want to instill Christian law and want to promote Christianity as this high standards of moral values, family values. You know, these Christians that promote that male hierarchy, you know, that there's the man, and then there's the woman, and then there's the children. And the man represents the God. You know, the dangerous worldview is the worldview that Jordan Peterson promotes. He's speaking to a bunch of idiotic simpleton men, riding high off of their testosterone, saying, look at us, we are man, we are the dominators, you know, we are the hunter-gatherers. Well, motherfucker, it's a modern age. You know, these very people that refuse to see our animal roots and say that it's some designer that designed us are the same people that promote animalistic instinct. And it's these thoughts that lead to people having what I would call an incel mentality. A mentality to where you feel like not only do you deserve women bowing down to you, but you should be able to take that pussy. That's the dangerous thing about incels to me, is they actively promote this rape culture that you should just go out and rape people, rape women, take it. And it's people like Jordan Peterson that lead them down that rabbit hole.
And it's what's taught in the humanities and in much of the social sciences at universities, and increasingly in the public education system. It's taken as an unassailable fact.
And you're saying that this has bad consequences for the development of boys?
Well, how could you feel good about that? I mean, if you're made out to be a potential manifestation of rape culture, if you're part of toxic masculinity, if your competitive drive is regarded as part of a tyrannical impulse, if the heritage to which you belong is regarded as an oppressive patriarchy, then how in the world are you going to step forward with confidence and shoulder that what would you call it, that burden? Why would you? Why wouldn't you just step?
I really hate how he fucking talks. Like I think he gives Canada a bad reputation. Like he fills that stereotype of that Canadian accent, and it drives me the fucking crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's this whole talk about toxic masculinity and how, you know, that liberal feminist culture is taking over and men can't be men anymore and women are trying to be men now. You know, women want control. Like I've literally seen conversations where Jordan Peterson pretty much promotes this conspiracy that women are trying to take over the world and basically make men their slaves, which is a very right-wing line of thinking, and I believe it leads to these motherfuckers being incels. These men that haven't gotten laid in so long that they can't take it. Now, I've spoken about my situation. You know, last couple of years, I've been voluntarily incel. You know, like I haven't really wanted to get out there and meet new people because I had somebody I loved. And you guys all know she came over yesterday. We had a really good time. But it's this thinking that you know, like you're entitled to another human being, you know, that they should serve your needs. You know, it starts here. It starts here. So we're going to get away from Jordan. We're going to start talking about some incel shit because I really just don't know a lot about incels. I've seen a little bit. I've watched a few old non sequitur shows, and we're going to watch one of those. I've watched a lot of Shannon Q's conversations with incels, but I generally don't know about them. So this is something that we can learn together, learn about together, and we can talk, and I don't have to pretend like I'm some expert. I have disdain for this. I find it to be atrocious, an atrocious mentality, but I just don't know a lot about it, so let's learn about it.
As a subculture scholar, what really fascinates me is trying to decode some of the language. Unlike any subculture, the incels have their own vernacular. So what I've done is I've gone into some of these incel forums that are online, since this is the space in which most of these guys congregate. And there's ongoing conversations every single day with people all over the world. And a lot of incels are really obsessed with their looks. And I think it's kind of gives us a nice window into the rejection and the depression that.
So right there, I think you have a very telling thing what that guy just said. Like, incels are really obsessed with their looks, and I think that's somewhat telling. Because I think that, you know, people that are obsessed with their looks kind of, at least with men, come in two categories. And it's probably the same way with women. I'm not sure. I'm not a woman. I'm not going to pretend to speak for women. But with men, I think you either are very, maybe three ways. So you're very prissy. You care about your looks. You want to look perfect, and you're like that player type dude that I was talking about in my video. How some men still treat women. You know, you're that type of man, to where you have no problems. You know, having interactions with the gender that you're sexually attracted to. You have no problems at all. And in fact, it goes to that extreme to where, you know, you end up playing with people's emotions. You mislead them. It becomes all about physicality instead of emotion. So you have those type of men. And then you have men that are kind of like me. Like, I just don't really care. You know, I am me. I think I'm a rather good looking dude, but I'm not going to go out of my way to, you know, make myself look good. I'm just gonna be me. I'm comfortable being me. It's always helped. And I think that's pretty much like most men. But then you have people that worry about their looks, like incels, who they think that they are ugly. They think that they're not sexually attracted to anybody. They're not attractive to anybody. They don't know how to speak because they have these insecurities about themselves. You know, I'm an ugly person. Why would you want to be with me? So I'm not even going to go talk to you. You know, I used to be like this as a teenager. I was very shy and I was afraid to go talk to girls. You know, thankfully I had sports. So that really helped make women want to come talk to me because I was very shy. I just wouldn't initiate those contacts. But it's different. It wasn't like, you know, I thought I was ugly. I was just shy. You know, these people, they have such a low image of themselves that they assume everybody else has that image about them.
Some of the incels are really feeling.
I think all men deep down are really pissed off by women.
Wish you all were dead.
And they
I mean, it is already so hot and humid here in Michigan that I turned off my AC for 20 minutes and I'm dripping sweat and I can't breathe. I'm like, like, you can't, there's no air to breathe here. It's so humid in Michigan.
adopt this sort of fatalistic attitude that they are not genetically made in an attractive way for women and therefore are doomed to never find intimacy with a woman. So the incels really focus on the Chads and the Stacys. The Chads are the high status males who, from the incels' point of view, are successful, are having sex with lots of women, to whom life comes really easily. The Stacys are the shallow, self-obsessed women who only care about the looks of the Chads and therefore spurn, you know, any.
So, and that's just to me, the wrong way to look at the world. Like if you're seeing some guy who's having a lot of luck with women, let's say he's that player type that I was talking in my last video. That's not somebody that you should really look up to. Oh, he is the epitome of maleness. He is what I aspire to be. Oh, if only I could get all the girls like that guy. To me, that is an atrocious worldview. To me, that is speaking to that mentality that men are better and that women serve us. No, like you shouldn't really aspire to be that guy. You shouldn't hold that guy on this pedestal. Actually, you should call that guy out and tell him to start treating women with respect. You know, too many people look at that man and idolize him instead of holding disdain for him, and that they need that disdain.
Advances or attempts made by the incels. These are the stereotypical attractive women who show disdain for any man that doesn't meet their standards. They see what they call the chads, the high status, attractive guys, as sort of a mirror that's reflecting back their ugliness, as they put it.
No, get down! Get down!
Some of these mass shooters, Alec Manassian, Dylan Roof, others, they will come up and are sometimes valorized as heroes.
You know, that's the other really disturbing thing. And you know, I know like some, you know, people like Shannon Q and a lot of people have been in these forums. And I know John or a couple people are talking about the forums and the chat right now. And in the future, we're going to start looking at these forums. I'm going to start finding them, looking at them, because I've heard really, really dark things about this. And yes, I've heard this, that they hold these murderers up to these high standards. People like Dylan Root, like the worst people, like, you know, it shows who you are. And this is going to speak to a point that I'm going to speak of here in a little bit, how I think that there's really two types of incels, but I'm a beginner. So, you know, I'm going to, of course, go back and look at the chat and see everything that you guys are saying in these types of settings. It's really hard to look at the chat, see what's going on with the chat, because I'm trying to focus on the show. But the two types of incels to me, there's the incel that you can reach, and you know, these people deserve compassion. These people have really low self-images of themselves and really just need to be built back up, that they can still be productive members of society. But then there's that second type of incel, and we're going to learn more about them over the course of a period of time. There's going to be live streams and there's going to be edited videos. But that second type of incel, in my opinion, are those that pose a threat to society. They're those that are on these forums threatening to rape women, to kidnap women, to make them their slaves, basically, holding up Dylan Ruth and monsters like that as some forms of heroes. These are the types of incels that I am going to be strongly combating, while trying to keep in mind that there is that other type of incel that just really needs people to help them have better confidence about themselves. And it's not so much that they're a danger to society, they just need to think better about themselves. And I don't really know how many would fall into that category, because from what I've seen of this community, most of them are fucking monsters.
You'll even get some shorthand, sort of almost memes going on, like I'm about to go Manassian or something like that. Some of them would say, well, that's just venting. But there is a bit of venerating some of these mass killers. So incels have adopted the notion of taking the blue or the red pill from the science fiction film The Matrix.
You know, and that's something I really hate. Like, pretty much, you know, if you come at me, red pill, anything, and for some reason my nose is really itching, it's because I'm sweating. But if you come at me like red pill, blue pill shit, like, you've totally ruined a really great movie and a really great concept, and have fucking destroyed it with your political agenda. Like, red pill anything, I dislike you. I was first introduced to Candace Owens when she was red pill black. I did a lot of videos on my old channel about red pill black, and I automatically did not like her. I don't know where my phone is right now. Just a second. All right, stupid phone. I hid it from myself. But, you know, I didn't like her. I didn't like none of the stuff she said. You know, people find Candace Owens atrocious. Now, back when she was red pill black, you know, she had series like, you know, Life of the Coon. I shit you not. Life of the Coon. And she pretty much spent that whole series just talking shit about Colin Kaepernick and black people. Stupid phone. So, you know, this whole... Stop it. I swear my phone waits until I go online to do anything. So we're just gonna turn it off. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So let's get back into the video.
The incels feel so fatalistic about their position, they suggest that they've taken the black pill. In other words, they can see the world for what it is, but there is no hope for escape. There is no opportunity that comes from the enlightenment for being able to see the world for what it is. And of course, the world for what it is this fatalistic notion that through a genetic trick, they are not as attractive, don't have as strong a jawline as certain alpha males, the Chads as they call them, and therefore are doomed to a life of loneliness and neglect.
So from pretty much what I get from that video is that incels just pretty much have bad role models. Like they are holding in esteem the wrong set of people. Like, I think society as a whole, and maybe I'll be in a bit of agreement with the likes of Girl Defined here, I think society as a whole pushes people into this sexual mentality. Like you have to look a certain way because you see that on magazines. And I often disagree with Girl Defined, but it's not so much their message as how they message it. Like, it's not some assault on God. It's just that we're more secular and we're more open with our sexuality now. But there is a disadvantage to that. Like, society does promote this stereotypical image of beauty when it comes to male and female. The females have to be way too skinny. Like I'm not even really attracted to that skinny ass model female on magazine covers. That's not what I'm into. I'm into more of a human being. You shouldn't have to starve yourself to be to look good to me. To me, that's just stupid. And it's the same with men. You shouldn't have to spend hours upon hours in a gym if you don't want to, just to look good to women. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in your skin. That is what I promote. And I think that's what they are lacking, that they're not confident in their skin. And they are looking at these magazines and these beef women or these beefed up men, and they're saying, I should be like that. That's the only way you can get girls, when it's not. If you are just confident in yourself, if you just feel good about yourself, most women are going to be attracted to that. It's the insecurity that is going to drive them away. But with this next video, I really like Shannon Q's work that I've seen that she's done with incels. So we're going to just watch a little bit of this, meet a couple incels. I think King Gigacell was probably one of the more well-known that I've seen. But as I said, I'm new to incels. I've been meaning to do this for a while. Never really got around to it. So I really can't wait to go and see what you guys are saying in the chat about it.
King is hired.
Why do I even need to be here?
I'm going to leave.
Why do I
How you doing, everybody?
He's new, Steve. I don't even need to be here.
Boy, Jay-Z. Yeah.
King Gigacell has come ready to party, I think. Well, you know what? Since we're on you, why don't you go ahead and take a second and introduce yourself and tell everybody why you reached out following the stream that we did with.
And I almost didn't use the non sequitur clip because I don't want to bring that whole non sequitur issue onto my channel. But this is what I miss most about non sequitur, and I really hope that they work this shit out, or that other platforms pop up that do what non sequitur used to do, because these conversations to me are important, and this is what non sequitur did great.
Catfish Man.
So, King Gigacell, I'm also on the Incels.is forum, and I've been on there, and I'm not like a very popular user or anything, but I noticed the stream with Catfish Man and Sergeant Incel, and I decided that I may reach out because I could probably provide some extra clarification. I noticed that Catfish Man wasn't exactly the best at expressing his thoughts, I suppose, so I thought maybe I can just provide a little bit of explanation from a different viewpoint, and that's basically why I reached out, and it's good to know that I have one extra guy as backup, Brendio, who is muted for some reason right now, I think.
Oh, can I just say,
yeah, it is so hot. Like, I don't like it. Just an hour ago, it wasn't this hot and humid, and I should have really went live an hour ago, because an hour later, I am streaming. I just took a shower. I took my morning shower already. After I do this, I'm gonna have to shower again, and then I'm gonna be doing a Patreon thing. So I'm gonna be sweaty again. I'm gonna have to shower again. It's ridiculous. Like anybody that says climate change isn't real, man, just come and melt. in Michigan right now.
Brendio, before we have you introduce yourself, King Gigasel, has anyone ever told you that by listening?
All right, so Guzman has figured out, or maybe Guzman was never hidden from the channel. So Guzman, if you don't come in talking derogatory shit, you're not gonna get timed out. So keep it cool, Guzman. Keep it cool. I don't think Guzman was one of the ones that was hidden. So I was like, oh, the NIFB has figured out that I unhid everybody. But no, I don't think we ever hid Guzman.
By listening to you talk, you sound just like the dad from you ever seen that Wild Thornberries? I think his name was Nigel.
Oh, smashing! Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I do want to thank Guzman for the thumbs down. Seeing him in the chat, now I know where that thumbs down came from. Thank you, Guzman, for the thumbs down. I'm doing my job right if the NIFB are thumbing down my content. I would not feel good about myself if you were giving me a thumbs up.
Yes. Yes. So
Absolutely
okay.
smashing, Wendy.
Okay. All right, Brendio. Take a second to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Derek. Most people know me as Brendio or Brendio EE.
So here's the scary thing about Guzman, real quick, before we get into this a little bit more. And I'm not sure, we're not going to play, this is a long thing. We're only going to do this for a little while. This is just an introduction to Incels. But having Guzman here is kind of perfect, because I think Guzman, and hopefully not, but Guzman has potential to be a future Incel. He's part of this atrocious movement. As he grows, he's part of a demographic in this country that a lot of kids don't think like Guzman does. So Guzman most likely is going to be ostracized outside of his church settings, outside of his NIFB settings. Guzman might have a very hard time finding a woman. And so I think Guzman has a chance of becoming an incel. Guzman, watch closely, go back and watch my future work on this, and don't become one of these douchebags, please.
I run a YouTube channel by the same name. I consider myself a geographical incel, which is someone who is an incel because of their own localized sexual market, creating a set of circumstances that make it impossible to find a relationship.
A geographical incel. I mean, that just is fucking weird to me. Like this is what I need to learn about. Geographical incel. Like, because I live in this county and I look the way that I look, well, it's just impossible for me to interact and meet other people. I find that to be a very odd statement. I am fairly certain that if I were in that town, I could meet people if I wanted to. It all goes back to they look at themselves as shitty people, so they're automatically assuming that everybody else is going to see them in the same light that they see themselves. And this is what we really, in my opinion, need to attack with the incels. It's their self-loathing. It's what makes them incels.
Or even just simply have sex without paying for it, which I never have done, by the way. I live in LA, which according to my research is the worst city in America to live as a young white male looking for a partner, and believe I'm a geographical incel.
I mean, is that true? Chat, if you know whether or not that's true, is LA the worst place that you can live, be a white male, and get laid? Because I would think that LA being a melting pot of culture, like you would have all these other opportunities that you might not have had before. Like if you're in Redneckville, North Carolina, where I grew up, say if I was actually liberal back then, I could see maybe being a geographical incel. All these country girls don't want to be with my liberal ass. I'm too fine for that. I'm just saying it could happen maybe. It didn't happen before, but it could. But you're in LA, like you have just so many people out there, so many different people. Like I would think your chances in LA would be much better than Davie County, North Carolina, where there's more cows than people.
Opposed to an incel who can't get a partner because of their looks or personality or mental condition, because I've traveled with friends to Middle America and other parts of the world, and women are much more friendlier and communicative in those parts of the world than where I'm from. So, yeah.
You would think that
You know, and all these people seem to have excuses. You know, they have excuses why they can't get laid. Like, you know, like it's where I live. It's not that I don't know how to talk to girls. It's where I live. You know, I live in L.A. There's way too many people here for me to get laid here in L.A. Like, it makes no fucking sense.
That L.A. would have the biggest, I guess, this could be completely wrong, but you know, the biggest variety when women, with just the influx of people who have either careers or you know, trying to act. Seems like that would be a
Iron, that's actually a good question. I'm not sure what's going on in chat. It kind of looks like maybe some arguing is going on. Is my streams an anti-NIFB zone? No. I am for open discourse. Now, I'm very anti-IFB, but I do want them to come here and feel like they can speak, but I do want to take a very hard stance towards their bigotry. That's why I unhid everybody. I want NIFB in my chats, being NIFB, just understanding my very simple rules. You know, you can have your homophobic views, argue with people in the chat all you want. Don't promote those homophobic slurs in my chat or you'll be timed out. And then, you know, like, if there is questions, you guys can email me and I'll go back and look at it and I'll see. But, and if you ultimately feel like you do need to hide somebody from the channel again, you're mods. You have that power. But I'm just asking that you guys use that power accordingly. And I do want NIFB here. I see that one of the people I unhid is back. So, you know, let her speak. Let them speak. Just, have that discourse and troll them back. And don't let them speak homophobic slurs.
The best place to find one, wouldn't
it? Well, in my experience, or according to my data, the more sexually promiscuous or the more leftist or hypergamous an area is, the more likely, the harder it's going to be to find a partner in my experience. So, yeah.
That's true.
All right, yeah. See, I'll go back and look at it, and it's still new, you know. And I do understand people having reactions to NIFB. I do. They're atrocious. We're standing in opposition to them. But my main thing is, you know, really, I don't miss the times when Matt was coming in with the homophobic slurs. I miss the times when Matt was coming in and having a conversation and trying to debate, and it opened up having Matt on my channel. I think that I miss out on getting people on my channel. I want to have more conversations on my channel with NIFB, not fewer, because I really mainly want to have a chance to cuss out more NIFBs and give Dragnot and Sokka chances to combat their ideologies more. I want to combat their ideologies more, and I can't do it if they're all hidden from my chats.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just thought I might add to that point. It's a very good leftism and hypergamy. That with the whole leftist ideology, right, if it becomes like a more pervasive social and political culture, then women start to develop these kinds of feelings associated with leftism of like entitlement, of empowerment, and I don't owe you anything, you know, and they was on a pedestal. And that's like one of the hallmarks of the whole feminism movement and the whole empowerment of women is that they just have this changing and evolving psychology, right, towards men.
So yeah, this is the other thing that I picked up from this whole incel thing, and this is why I've always wanted to combat it, is this right-wing hatred of feminism. Are there some extreme feminists? Fuck yeah. There's extremists in any movement, in any worldview, any political agenda, you're going to have extremists. You're going to have women that do think that women are better than men. That's going to fucking happen. I would say that the ratios are probably far fewer than men that think they're better than women, you know, and it can't drive, it drives men fucking crazy now to think that there are some women in this world that have the audacity to see themselves so much higher than their place would dictate, you know. This whole mentality of who's better and who's not, it is that otherism. It is how we have taken advantage of human weakness throughout the history of mankind. There was a time when that was needed. We needed that for evolution's sake, but we live in the modern world now. We are trying to be more secular, more humanist, and more accepting.
Men are these damaging psychopaths, who at any point in time may engage in crime or rape or whatever, and that extends into the Me Too movement, all this kind of thing. So it's a changing, which is giving women completely different attitudes to men, which makes it a lot more difficult to cooperate with them. So that's just a valuable point I might add.
Okay, and Shannon, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and then you can pick up.
All right, I think I really gotta get off here before I just absolutely melt. I cannot do it. I need to get my AC on. Oh, I didn't want that screen. I gotta get my AC on. I'm like sweating through this shirt. I got some Patreon work to do. So yeah, like I'm really interested, and we'll, maybe tonight in the open room too, we can talk more about NIFB in my chat, and maybe define some rules for my chat. Maybe I'll interact and find out what you guys want from the chat, because it shouldn't just be me a dictator. Yeah, it's my channel, but you guys are coming here for entertainment value, so I want to hear your input on it as well. So we'll talk NIFB tonight in my open room, and we'll talk my chat. We'll talk incel shit, because I want to learn more about these incels and this mentality. And I really want to delve more into Jordan Peterson and his ilk. Now, the thing with Jordan Peterson is I see him as political. So I'm not going to deal with him too much on this channel. I will be dealing with Jordan Peterson on my political channel mainly. But every once in a while, I'm going to bring him here because I know our community, they do get up in arms when it comes to Peterson. And I do, as I said, think that Peterson, his line of thinking, his line of talk does lead some people down that rabbit hole towards being incels. So as I've trolled on Twitter and how this whole stream got inspired, do I think that all of Jordan Peterson followers are incels? No, I am trolling you. I am trolling you. But do I think that if you run with a pack of wolves, that you might be misrepresented as a wolf? Yes. So if you are going to say some of the same things, if you are going to believe some of the same things, well, don't get mad when the raging atheist says you're a fucking incel. But I'm going to look at what you guys had to say in the side chat. I'm going to look at the comments, and I'm going to research this a lot more, because you should know everything that you can about the topics you're going to talk about. And if anybody wants to come and have a conversation with incels tonight, probably around 10 o'clock, and we'll discuss the chat as well. We'll discuss the NIFB. We'll have the open room I usually have on Friday nights, 5 o'clock, GDC. Great conversation is going to happen. Check that out. And I will see you guys very, very soon.